Sir Robert, and thank you to the Honourable Member for Lichfield for this important opportunity to speak on this matter. Now, I do represent a beautiful rural coastal constituency, as everybody knows, with 52 miles of glorious coastline. But we also have a little secret, and one that not many people know of. For indeed, I have Norfolk's only locked sailing canal, the North Walsham and Dilham Canal. And I would invite the Honourable Member for Lichfield, Sir Robert, to come and visit it any time he wants.
I'll take that up if I can stay with you.
Certainly, certainly. I better check with the wife first. The canal was originally about 9 miles long and was built by private investors under a local Act of Parliament passed in 1812. And it was built for carrying goods in Norfolk's most famous wherries, originating from or travelling to as far afield as London and the northeast via Great Yarmouth. And it served the local community for over 100 years, but like many canals, fell into disuse with the new railways and the improvements on our roads which took place and therefore made the transportation of heavy goods easier and faster by those new roads and infrastructure. But in 2000, enthusiastic volunteers started to restore our waterway into what is now quite simply the most beautiful and magical setting you could ever see. But it was in 2008 that the North Walsham and Dilham Canal Trust was formed. Now, the Trust volunteers have helped the owner of one of the stretches of the canals to completely restore the first mile. From North Walsham, it has rebuilt one lock completely. It's replaced another pair of gates at a second lock, and now we are well into the next section of the canal, which is 1.5 miles in length, and that work is really ongoing. But of course the question is, why is it so important? Well, it's about this debate. It is about the future. And ultimately, why do volunteer groups do this? They do it to benefit nature, biodiversity, but to preserve the historical structures that in many cases up and down the land are not used as they used to, but also to help the welfare of our local populations, for tourism, as we have heard many honourable members talk about. And in my constituency, the volunteers regularly hold work parties, which is described as some sort of outdoor gymnasium for people to come and get involved. But it has an entirely great community benefit. And my stretch of this beautiful canal is now used for wild swimmers, canoeists, paddleboarders, fishermen and women. And of course, there is also a small solar-powered vessel which is operated by the Trust and its volunteers. But quite simply, it is also a quiet spot to have a picnic, to take a few hours out and just relax. So clearly, the benefits for mental health and physical health are clear for all to see. Now, Mr. Chairman, as I begin to end, there's always a but. And my but is about the Environment Agency. And my plea to the Minister is that they must listen and learn from the volunteers. Because if it wasn't for my volunteers, this piece of disused canal that fell into disrepair would not be as established as it is today. And the greatest challenge of the trustees is always to prove to the EA the great work that they are doing. And that is entirely within the aims and the objects of the 2021 Environment Act. I just want to really end and thank the volunteers, and especially those work party leaders, because without them and without so many of the members have spoken this morning, our beautiful canals would not exist. To David Revell, our current chairman, who has done so much work, but also to Graham Pressman, who humbly describes himself as just the boating officer on my stretch of canal. But to all of those that know back home, Graham is a fountain of information and enthusiasm that embodies the passion that has restored this fabulous waterway. And I leave you with just the aims of my trust, which I'm sure are the aims of every single trust in this room today, that it is to promote the benefit for the public, the restoration and the conservation and the protection of the natural environment that is around the canal. And when you've seen the work that my volunteers have done, I am sure that the canal is in safe hands going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Here.